Most traders believe trading psychology is something you fix after you find a strategy. That belief alone is why they never become consistent. Psychology is not a side subject in trading. It is not something you read about after blowing accounts. Psychology is the system operating behind every decision you make. The first law of trading psychology is simple, uncomfortable, and unavoidable. Law 1, you do not trade the market. You trade yourself. Price is neutral. Candles do not care about you. Liquidity does not hunt you personally. The market is not emotional. You are. Every win, every loss, every hesitation, every impulse is a reflection of your internal state interacting with uncertainty. Most traders lose money not because their analysis is wrong, but because their reactions are untrained. When price moves quickly, fear appears. When price moves without you, regret appears. When price moves in your favor, greed appears. These emotions do not come from the chart. They come from identity attachment. You believe a trade defines you. You believe a missed move exposes you. You believe a loss means failure. Until this belief is dismantled, no system will save you. The professional trader understands something early. The market does not need to be controlled. Your responses do. This is why two traders can use the same model and get completely different results. One follows rules, the other negotiates with them emotionally. Trading psychology begins when you stop asking, what is the market doing? And start asking, why am I reacting this way? Most traders never ask that question, honestly. The second law follows naturally. Law 2, emotional urgency is the enemy of profitability. Urgency feels productive. It feels intelligent. It feels like intuition. In reality, urgency is fear wearing a disguise. Urgency makes you click early. Urgency makes you widen stops. Urgency makes you chase. Urgency makes you trade when conditions are not present. No profitable trader is urgent. They are prepared. Urgency exists only when you believe opportunity is scarce. That belief is false. The market produces infinite opportunity, but your edge exists in very specific conditions. The trader who feels rushed is trading without structure. The trader who feels calm has boundaries. Most retail traders live in a constant state of psychological pressure. They believe they must act now or miss everything. This is not market reality. This is insecurity. The moment you remove urgency, execution improves automatically. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop trying to be involved. You wait. Waiting is not passive. Waiting is discipline. Professional traders are not faster than you. They are slower by design. The third law completes the foundation. Law 3. Consistency is a psychological skill, not a technical one. Most traders chase consistency by changing strategies. They tweak indicators. They switch time frames. They blame conditions. But inconsistency is rarely technical. It is behavioral. When you break rules, when you trade emotionally, when you chase, the problem is not awareness. The problem is self-control under pressure. Consistency means doing the same thing regardless of emotional state. That requires identity discipline. You must decide who you are as a trader before the market opens. Inconsistent traders decide during the trade. Consistent traders decide before price moves. The reason consistency feels difficult is because the brain seeks relief, not discipline. Relief comes from acting. Discipline comes from restraint. Every time you follow your rules despite discomfort, you rewire your nervous system. Every time you break them, you reinforce emotional trading. Consistency compounds quietly. Inconsistency destroys loudly. Most traders sabotage themselves during winning streaks, not losing streaks. Confidence turns into overconfidence. Overconfidence turns into rule bending. Rule bending turns into drawdown. This is psychology, not strategy. At this stage, many traders resist these laws. They want something more actionable, more mechanical, more concrete. But these laws are concrete. They govern behavior. If you violate them, nothing else matters. You cannot out-strategy poor psychology. You cannot out-analyze emotional instability. You cannot out-indicator lack of discipline. The market will always expose emotional weakness. This chapter is not meant to motivate you. It is meant to confront you. If you accept these first 3 laws, trading becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. You stop blaming external factors. You start refining internal control. This is where real growth begins. Once a trader accepts that psychology governs execution, the next battle is not confidence. It is survival. Survival through drawdowns, survival through uncertainty, survival through periods where nothing seems to work. This is where most traders break, not because they lack knowledge, but because they lack emotional structure. These next 3 laws are not about making money. They are about staying in the game long enough for skill to express itself. Law 4, fear never disappears. It must be managed. Many traders believe that once they gain experience, fear will vanish. This belief is dangerous. Fear is not a beginner's emotion. Fear is a human response to uncertainty and risk. As long as money is involved, fear will exist. Professional traders are not fearless. They are fear aware. Fear shows up in subtle ways: hesitating on valid entries, taking profits too early, avoiding trades after a loss, increasing position size after a win. These are not logical decisions. They are emotional compensations. The goal is not to eliminate fear. The goal is to contain it. Fear becomes destructive only when it is allowed to influence decision making. When risk is predefined and position size is controlled, fear loses leverage. It may still exist emotionally, but it cannot change outcomes. This is why risk management is psychological management. Fixed risk creates emotional predictability. Emotional predictability creates calm execution. If you fear a loss too much, you are risking too much. There is no exception to this rule. Fear also grows when you care too much about outcome. When one trade feels important, fear intensifies. When trades are viewed as samples in a long series, fear weakens. Fear thrives in isolation. Probability dissolves it. The trader who understands this stops asking, "What if I lose?" and starts asking, "Did I follow my process?" That shift alone neutralizes fear's power. Law 5, loss is not the enemy. Emotional reaction to loss is. Most traders say they are afraid of losing money. That is not true. They are afraid of what losing means about them. Loss triggers identity conflict. It feels like proof of incompetence, proof of failure, proof that maybe trading is not for them. This is why losses hurt more than they should. In reality, loss is a business expense. It is information. It is confirmation that probability is playing out, but only if the loss came from correct execution. A loss taken according to plan is not damage. It is validation of discipline. The real damage comes from emotionally driven losses, revenge trades, overtrading, breaking rules to recover. These losses compound psychologically and financially. Professional traders respect loss. They do not fear it. They fear losing control. This is why they stop trading after a certain number of losses, not because the market is bad, but because emotional capital is depleted. Loss also exposes truth. It shows you whether your confidence is real or conditional. Real confidence survives loss. False confidence collapses. If a single loss changes your behavior, your psychology is fragile. This law forces you to redefine success. Success is not winning trades. Success is executing correctly regardless of outcome. Once this definition is accepted, loss loses its emotional sting. Law 6, the market punishes the need to be right. The need to be right is one of the most expensive psychological flaws in trading. It masquerades as confidence, conviction, or intelligence. In reality, it is ego. Ego resists invalidation. Ego widens, stops. Ego adds to losing positions. Ego refuses to exit when structure breaks. The market does not negotiate with ego. It exposes it. Profitable traders do not care about being right. They care about being aligned. Alignment allows them to be wrong quickly and cheaply. The need to be right creates attachment. Attachment creates suffering. This is why traders argue with charts. They justify trades after the fact. They search for reasons why price should move. Should is not a market concept. It is an emotional one. Once you release the need to be right, Trading becomes lighter. You exit without anger. You accept invalidation. You move on. Being wrong is not failure. Staying wrong is. This law also explains why traders struggle with counter-trend trades or bias changes. They cling to old narratives because letting go feels like defeat. Professional traders drop bias without emotion. Bias is a tool, not an identity. When you stop needing to be right, flexibility becomes strength rather than chaos. These three laws form the emotional armor of a trader. They protect you during the most dangerous phases of trading: drawdowns, uncertainty, and ego conflict. Most traders fail here, not because they cannot learn these laws, but because they refuse to accept them emotionally. Acceptance is not agreement. Acceptance is surrendering resistance. By this stage, most traders understand what damages their psychology. Fewer understand what stabilizes it. Discipline is often misunderstood as willpower, motivation, or strictness. In trading, discipline is not force, it is design. These next three laws explain why some traders remain stable under pressure while others collapse emotionally. Law 7: discipline is built before the trade, not during it. Most traders try to become disciplined in the heat of the moment. This never works. The emotional brain is dominant when money is on the line. Once price is moving, it is already too late to negotiate rules. Discipline must be engineered into your environment. Rules that require decision-making during execution will be broken. Rules that are binary and predefined are obeyed automatically. This is why professional traders define risk per trade, maximum trades per session, trading hours, valid setups before the market opens. Once these are defined, discipline becomes passive. You are not resisting temptation, you are removing it. This is also why journaling and preparation matter. They reduce the need for emotional control in real time. You are not trying to be strong, you are being structured. Discipline fails when rules are flexible. Flexibility invites emotion. Emotion invites inconsistency. If your rules allow interpretation, your psychology will exploit it. Law 8: your identity as a trader determines your results. Every trader has an identity, whether they are aware of it or not. Some see themselves as aggressive, some as cautious, some as intuitive, some as analytical. The problem arises when identity is not aligned with behavior. If you see yourself as disciplined but trade impulsively, internal conflict develops. Internal conflict creates stress. Stress creates emotional decisions. Profitable traders build an identity around process, not outcome. They do not say, I am a winning trader. They say, I am a trader who follows rules. This identity is stable. It does not fluctuate with equity curves. When identity is tied to money, drawdowns feel like personal attacks. When identity is tied to execution quality, drawdowns are manageable. Another critical shift is moving from participant identity to operator identity. Participants react, operators execute. Operators observe price without attachment. They are not emotionally involved in every move. They are running a system. Once you adopt this identity, trading becomes less personal and more professional. Law 9: emotional control comes from acceptance, not suppression. Most traders try to suppress emotions. They tell themselves not to feel fear, not to feel greed, not to feel frustration. Suppression does not work. Suppressed emotion leaks into behavior. Emotional control comes from acceptance. You acknowledge the emotion without acting on it. I feel fear, but my rules do not change. I feel urgency, but my entry conditions are not met. This separation is critical. Emotion is information about your internal state, not instructions for action. When you accept emotions, they pass faster. When you resist them, they intensify. This is why experienced traders appear calm, not because they feel nothing, but because they do not identify with emotion. They allow emotion to exist without granting it authority. Another part of emotional control is understanding that discomfort is normal. Waiting is uncomfortable. Missing trades is uncomfortable. Losses are uncomfortable. Trying to eliminate discomfort leads to impulsive behavior. Professional traders tolerate discomfort. They do not escape it. These three laws create emotional maturity. Without them, traders oscillate between confidence and collapse. With them, traders remain steady. At this level, trading becomes less dramatic. Fewer emotional highs, fewer emotional lows, more neutrality. Neutrality is not indifference, it is control. The market rewards psychological consistency over time. Everything in trading psychology converges here. You can have knowledge without discipline. You can have discipline without patience. You can have patience without emotional control. But without psychological consistency, none of it lasts. Law 10 is the law that governs all others. The market does not reward brilliance. It rewards consistency of behavior over time. Most traders believe they are one breakthrough away, one perfect setup, one big win, one moment where everything changes. This belief keeps them emotionally attached to outcomes and blind to patterns of self-sabotage. The market does not care about potential. It responds only to repeated, stable execution. Psychological consistency means you behave the same way on good days and bad days. You follow rules when you feel confident and when you feel uncertain. You execute when conditions align and you stand down when they do not. This is harder than learning any strategy. The reason most traders fail is not lack of intelligence. It is behavioral drift. They start disciplined. They start cautious. Then slowly, as emotion creeps in, they deviate. One exception becomes two. Two become habit. Habit becomes drawdown. Psychological consistency prevents drift. The way to achieve it is not motivation. Motivation is emotional and temporary. Consistency is structural. You achieve it through fixed routines, fixed risk, fixed rules, fixed review processes. When behavior is fixed, emotions lose influence. Another aspect of Law 10 is time compression. Most traders expect results too quickly. They measure progress daily instead of over meaningful sample sizes. This creates emotional volatility. Emotional volatility leads to impulsive decisions. Professionals measure performance in months and years, not days. They understand that variance exists. They allow probability to express itself. This long-term view stabilizes psychology. Law 10 also requires self-honesty. You cannot fix what you refuse to see. Many traders know their psychological flaws but protect them emotionally. They justify, they rationalize, they blame conditions. Psychological consistency requires radical honesty. You admit when you break rules. You admit when emotion interferes. You document it. You correct it. No ego, no excuses. Another critical component is environment control. You cannot maintain psychological consistency in a chaotic environment. Too much noise, too many opinions, too much screen time. Consistency requires simplicity. At this stage, you stop trying to trade more. You try to trade cleaner. Clean execution feels boring. Boredom is stability. The final realization is this: the market is not designed to test your intelligence. It is designed to test your discipline under uncertainty. Those who pass this test are not special. They are consistent. When you live by these 10 laws, trading changes fundamentally. Losses no longer destabilize you. Wins no longer inflate you. You operate from process, not emotion. This does not make trading easy. It makes it manageable. And manageability is the gateway to profitability. You trade yourself, not the market. Urgency destroys profitability. Consistency is psychological. Fear must be managed, not eliminated. Loss is information, not failure. The need to be right is expensive. Discipline is engineered before execution. Identity drives behavior. Emotions must be accepted, not suppressed. Consistency over time is everything. Master these laws, and strategy becomes secondary. Ignore them, and no strategy will save you.